Hello there and welcome to a very impromptu episode of the Magic Arena Run. No gameplay yet. Probably gonna consider playing it later. Actually, I wanted to wait to make this when I had the gameplay when I'm ready to build the deck and all that. Until I saw the sticker shock when I saw how many rare and mythic wild cards I would actually have to use. Basically, it's about 25% of what I have, and I'm not ready to invest that much into a deck that many people consider a meme deck. But on the other hand, I did the math because some amount of due diligence. Okay, I'll be honest, I've been watching too much Shark Tank, so there's so much talk about due diligence there. But we're going to discuss the different versions of the Tibalt's Trickery deck, and we're going to be taking a look at this. So that's why we're looking at a spreadsheet and we're not looking at arena gameplay. So I apologize to everyone. There's going to be a lot of math up ahead, but there's going to be quite a bit of discussion here. Hold on a second. There's something I actually need to add here. Okay, I also realized that if I'm staring at the screen in dark mode, I really need to turn on the lights. So that's why the lights are on right now. So first we're going to introduce the 3 different decks that we're doing for the mathematical comparison. So first, this is the one that started it all. This is the day 9 version of the deck. Everyone's seen this. It has the splash 60% win rate. It's kind of just missing Sean Plott's face memeing as some Tibalt's Trickery. But then again, that is what we got. Actually, I should recheck that that screen. Maybe that is his face. Anyway, so this is the deck that he built. Almost everything was already pretty much existed. So you notice his land base. It's mostly pre Kaldheim. The only cards that were from Kaldheim are the Crag Crown Pathway and the World Tree. Otherwise, almost everything else existed before. So this is probably the most budget-friendly, air quotes, among all of them. Let's be honest. 18 mythics, 38 rares. There's nothing budget about this. But that's just one of them. Then I believe Andrea Mengucci came up next with his version. I'm just basing this off based on history. I'm not so sure which came first between this one and Crim Asian Avenger on MTG Goldfish. But here's the Tibalt Trickery version. The payload is pretty much identical. The only difference is the mana base. Actually, no. Even the Crag Crown Pathway is from Zendikar also. So pretty much the main difference is probably some of these cards, but if I'm not mistaken, all of these are. Yeah, there's no reason why this would cost 11 rares and the other one costs 7. Well, pathways, because I didn't have the complete set of pathways yet. That makes sense. Now this one again, mostly from Zendikar, pretty much World Tree. That's only from Kaldheim. Otherwise, all the payloads are the same. He even gives us the benefit of sideboard. I'm gonna talk about this another time, but there's okay. I'll talk about it now. This is pretty much probably against the mirror match if that exists. Then finally we have the Asian Avenger version. So this one we actually have pathways from Kaldheim, so that might figure in our cost, and has a very different payload. Also runs the fewest lands because I'll go over the reason for that, but the payload's quite different. One runs Valky. The biggest difference runs Emergent Ultimatum, and the reason for this is because he's running a mini combo where you can get Vorinclex to combo with Valky for the big ultimate, and you get something else at the same time. The payoffs are slightly different. I will discuss those shortly. So Now back to my face, and I think I can turn this light on again. Yeah, there, that's better. As long as I'm doing the Excel sheet, I can. This one can be on, at least until I hit dark mode. So we see so how does that math stack up here? Let's see. Can I zoom this? Yeah, let's see. Let's zoom this one in further. There you go. We can see these more clearly. I've also hidden the numbers right now so that we don't get bombarded with math right away. So first off with the math, day 9 running 20 tap lands. If you notice, he actually ran only 2 pathways, and he was also running 2 copies of Turn Timber Symbiosis, which for this, well, since it doesn't matter if you pay 3 life or not, we're classifying as an untapped land. But running 20 tap lands, more than half of them scry. But for the purposes of this discussion, we're talking about hitting the combo on the hand right away. We're not trying to scry into the combo. And the logic behind Day 9's build is that he was doing this during the week, during the streamer week. This was during the time when all the streamers get access to Kaldheim a little bit earlier. And so with that one, it's basically about catching people unawares and seeing if they can get it to get traction. Now, Andrea Mengucci this deck was published well after Kaldheim was released in Arena, so the land base is less ambitious, more pathways, so it's still you still get dual colors, but you have the bigger benefit of untapped mana, and that's a very big difference when I'll talk later. Asian Avenger Crim decides to just go all in on getting the combo, so it's really shaves off some lands in order to hit some payoffs. But we're gonna see how the math stacks up here. So ideally you want to hit 2 lands in your opening hand and the combo, but you want at least 2 lands. So the math we're going is in a 7 card hand where you get any 1 land, and a 7 card hand where you have to have 1 land that's untapped. So how did I get to this math? I will introduce you to this article from Channel Fireball. This is about hypergeometric distribution. Also, or if you scroll down lower, how to use the formula in Excel and Google Sheets. And there's plenty of good probability rules. I really recommend this as a read of. I recommend this as a read, if only to give you a good, how do you say this? A realistic understanding of how the math works, so that you can stop crying that you won't stop crying that the shuffler is broken, because that's an emotional response. That's not a logical response. But if you're able to divorce your feelings from the game, you can actually get some understanding about how the math works. Now back to the spreadsheet. Getting any 1 land off is easy. It's really the untapped land that makes a big difference. And as you can see here, having that second land be an untapped land, because let's be honest, there's a very big difference between a turn 3 Tibalt's Trickery combo and a turn 2 Tibalt's Trickery combo. I'm also assuming that we're on the play in all of these. And currently in standard right now, these are all standard decks, by the way. I'm not going to go over historic and modern. Everyone's probably talking about those as well. The main key in standard is that we pretty much have only 2 1-mana counter spells that are relevant here. One is the one that Andrea Mengucci was packing in his sideboard, a null. And if you notice in our whiffs, actually this is our combo pieces, both of these are artifacts. So both of these are good on null targets, and you can just counter these instead of countering the Tibalt's Trickery. The other one is Miscast, which no one is really playing. I'm actually starting to consider it a little bit now. Maybe in best of 3, but that's another story. So, and based on this one, Day 9's only 40% to hit 2 lands to cast the combo on turn 2. Everyone else is about 70+%. And actually, based on this alone, I'm I'm willing to just turn this off right now, but we'll still go over this because there are some other decisions that he made that are worth talking about. Now we go to the misnamed whiffs section. This one's basically all the parts that don't win you the game. They just make up the combo. So everyone ran the same thing: 4 Tormod's Crypt, 4 Stonecoil Serpent, 4 Tibalt Trickery. The only one that's different is the single Valakut Awakening that Krim was running. And I believe his reasoning for this is so that if he can't hit the combo in the early game, he can use this as an emergency reset. Like, once he hits 3 mana, he can get a second shot at this. My concern with this one is that more often than not, you are pretty much mulliganing all the way down to 4. So let's say you mulligan to 4, play a land, 3, draw, play a land, still 3 cards, play a land, 3 cards. At 4, you cast a Valakut Awakening. That's basically just you're just basically drawing a new hand of 4. Now the odds are slightly better, but not so much. In fact, I think it only adds 10%, and by the time you get to this, you are way behind. So this one is highly suspect at best. And it also, but more importantly, this affects the math also. So as you can see, the total number of whiffs are like 12, 12, and 13. So let's go over the math on hitting the Tormod's Crypt. Now this one's the same for all, so all of these are the same. The odds of hitting 1 Tormod's Crypt or Stonecoil Serpent in a 7-card hand is 65%. The odds of hitting a single Tibalt's Trickery is about 40%. But it's when you combine these together. So the odds of actually hitting just this combo is about 20, a little over 1/4. It's not so bad when you consider that this is supposedly a win immediately combo, so some people are willing to take that risk. But now this is where the mana base comes in. So remember all the mana we're talking about, 7-card odds. So here's what we're considering. We're considering 2 lands. One of them has to ETB untapped so that you can cast the combo on turn 2, and you have the combo at the ready. So getting the perfect hand from your 7-card hand, as you can see, the difference is pretty much double. Like the day 9 deck only gets 10%. Actually should set this up so that this always stays on top. So I'll do that. I should do that next time. But how do we do this format? No, I'm kind of wasting time here. Format, conditional formatting. Nope, we'll just leave that be. I know how to do this in OpenOffice, but I'm not so familiar with Google Sheets. I probably should have just done it there. But here we can see that the difference is double. The point difference is not so much between these, but and in fact, cutting the number of lands isn't such a big difference if we look at the percentages here. Like, it's about 2% difference at best between Andrea's hand and Krim's hand. However, it's a world of difference in Day 9's case because of all those tapped lands. Now I know the logic is that you want to scry the scry's help, but when you're working with so few and so specific cards, then everything else is a dud. You're pretty much better off just getting the combo immediately in hand. And I don't care what his top 5 video looks like because that was a hit, but we have to because he managed to hit that with the help of the scry. But no, we're gonna consider. But that one is just a case of that's just a single data point there. So here's the case of when we see how the Paris Mulligan improves the information. Now I stop at multi 4 because that's the exact number. 2 lands, 1 enabler, and 1 Tibalt's Trickery. So you get 4 shots of this, so this becomes cumulative. So pretty much the it close to the benefit close to doubles when you multi 6, but it's if you played XCOM before, I still would not shoot at this percentage. At around a multi 5, you might shoot, and at a multi 4 with Andrea and Asian Avenger Crim, you're probably gonna pull the trigger at that point, especially if you're playing anything at veteran or lower. So this is just the odds of getting these hands. Now, when I started doing this worksheet, I was just reading it off the article from HYPERGEOMETRICS. I forgot that article was written when we were still doing the Paris Mulligan, when you don't get new 7 card hands and you just put cards back. No, you actually drew 1 card less. I wish I kept the numbers there, but if I remember correctly, it's like a 5% difference. It's a 5% difference. So that actually hurts that will actually hurt this combo deck. By how much, it remains to be seen, but it does hurt significantly it does hurt quite a bit the more you mulligan. Now here's the part about when you actually do resolve the combo, because there is actually still a fail case here. So if you remember about Tibalt's Trickery, it will cast a spell that is not the same name as the spell you countered. So for example, if I cast Tormod's Crypt and Tibalt's Trickery countering it, I could hit a Stonecoil Serpent, that's a whiff. I could hit another Tibalt's Trickery, that's a whiff. That's a whiff because the spell I'm countering is no longer in the stack. I can hit Valakut Awakening, that for this purpose is a whiff because you do not cast the combo just to draw a new hand. So basically, once you do resolve the combo, the odds are actually pretty good that you're going to hit something. So, and there's a little bit of weirdness here. So basically, if I kept a 7 card hand and every other card I drew as a whiff with a different name, so it minimizing the number of whiffs, I can get to as high as 80%. So those 3 Tibalt's Trickeries can still hurt. The worst case is if every other card I have is a hit, so I have fewer hits, it actually increases the percentage of hitting a whiff. So worst case scenario is still about 60%. So it's worst case, you're still 2/3 likely to about close to 2/3 or 3/5 to hit a winning card. That one's actually quite good. So really the onus is on resolving the combo. But there is also another condition to look at. Let's look at the actual hits here. So I'm going to classify these hits into 3 categories. So first are the so-called I win immediately hits. These are hits that when you hit, it's unless your opponent is specifically geared against the deck, or specifically geared with the certain amount of correct cards, you're probably not gonna win. Your opponent's probably not gonna be able to get out of it. So Emergent Ultimatum, especially if you know which 3 cards to get, this is always a win. Kiora, Best the Sea God. This is very difficult to deal with. There's either the aggro deck that can spawn a lot of small creatures, or there's the control deck that can eventually hit an extinction event or a rat effect. But for the most part, this counts as a win. Genesis Ultimatum, yes, there are some cases where this will whiff, but this counts as a win. Coma Cosmos Serpent is probably the biggest win next to Emergent Ultimatum, primarily because 1, it's a creature that can't be countered. 2, it's a creature that's indestructible if it gets to end the turn. Basically, if it managed to make a serpent, it's pretty much indestructible at that point. It also doesn't help that Coma Cosmos Serpent is an odd CMC and all the serpents are even CMC, so there, and we don't have a universal exile spell. So that is an issue. Although it's still kind of vulnerable to targeted removal, so that's one thing to consider. But otherwise, that's pretty much a sure win. The next category here is pretty good, but not insurmountable. So here we have Essica, God of the Tree. This one's pretty much for Prismatic Bridge. It doesn't win immediately, but it's about hitting creatures and or planeswalkers. So you won't get a powerful shot off an ultimatum with this, but you can get your Kiora. In fact, you won't even get Kiora Best of Sea God. You can get your Koma this way. You can get your Ugin this way. You can get your Dream Trawler this way. You can get Valky. Unfortunately, you're only getting the Valky side, so I can see why in Crim's version he cut out that combo. He has too many misses for this particular one, but for everyone else, this one's actually a fine add. Ugin the Spirit Dragon. This kind of borders on. This one probably should be on the I win immediately category on a psychological level. Your opponent has to be playing black, or white to have a relative shot at removing this. Blue as a relative shot to bounce this. Dream Trawler is probably an even big. Probably should also count as this one. I'm putting this down here because actually no, this one should be an I win territory. Let's see if I can find a different color. There. It's oh no, let's just make it what it is. Yeah, so this one really is an I win territory. Valky, God of Lies. You get to cast your opponent's spells, but if you're hitting this off a turn 2 combo, you're pretty much just using to draw more cards. So this one isn't really an I win. It's more of a combo with Emergent Ultimatum. Basically, you get to combo off. Even then, I feel like it's too early, so that one's questionable. Now here's Garruk Cursed Huntsman. This one kind of counts as an I might as well win. You get to generate a number of wolves. However, it can still be removed. We are in a format where people are now playing Binding the Old Gods, so Garruk, so that's a natural target for Garruk. Murderous Rider probably will make a comeback as a result. Then Vorinclex Monstrous Raider, quite a bit of removal, so I would not count that as a I win. Neither with Nyx Bloom Ancient. Nyx Bloom Ancient gives you a use for mana, so that the cards that you do have in hand, you can actually cast them afterwards. But this one's very vulnerable and very situational, especially if you mull down to 4. Then there's the Turn Timber Symbiosis. This one I will have to do math on how often are you going to hit cards here. But this is not the kind of card you want to be casting off as well, so I don't count this as an I win. So what are the mathematical odds on this one? So just on this top 4, I probably should move this up another time, but yeah, I should make some adjustments there. But here are the mathematical odds of hitting these cards. So you're pretty much close to 50% in hitting an immediate I win card. If I were to add the Dream Trawler up here, yeah, this goes up, but so does this. Both of these will go up, so between these two, I would probably take Andrea's deck over Day 9's deck, especially with the mana base issue. Now Crim's deck has a natural higher percentage here, but if I were to move Dream Trawler up, then Andrea's deck would be higher by about 2 cards. More importantly is the number of misses. 1/4 of the time you're going to hit a card that won't win you the game immediately. Your opponent will have a way out. Even if I were to upgrade Garruk Cursed Huntsman up here, it only makes it on par with Day 9's deck. And even then, I would argue that Day 9 might have a better shot with the 10. It's arguable. So So you get better, more explosive wins. At least these ones are not easy to answer immediately. Especially if you can hit multiple cards off these. That one's really unanswerable. But I probably would choose, for consistency's sake, I would choose Andrea Mengucci's deck. So this is the one I'm going to be looking at for the most part. So I'm going to include the link to this one. Please leave notes about how you feel about this. I can definitely say that with these odds in best of 1, there is a good chance we might get the Nexus of Fate treatment. It might, but more importantly, it opens the discussion of how powerful the London Mulligan really is. Everyone was saying before that the London Mulligan would affect mulligans in favor of combo decks, and here we have a combo deck that is really favoring the London Mulligan. If we go back to the Paris Mulligan, the deck suffers quite a bit. I did not include the because I don't have access to the hand smoothing algorithm for best of 1, where it's basically giving you a choice where the game gets 2 hands and chooses one of the 2. I did not include that as a factor, but that probably improves the odds. I'm not sure because I do not know how the game weighs lands out versus spells. It probably makes this easier, although you're still probably going to get a lot of tapped lands, so that's still an issue. I would say that if I were playing best of 3, and let's be honest, we probably shouldn't be playing this on best of 3. If you're playing best of 3, I'd probably take Andrea Mengucci's deck. This is probably the winning deck. This is probably the best deck option. It has the best odds for lands. Therefore has the best odds of hitting a 7 card, hitting the combo from a 7 card hand all the way down to 4. It doesn't have the best case of resolving a hit versus whiffing, although the points are very minimal. The points are very minimal. It's like a 1% difference, 1 to 2% difference. That it probably doesn't matter that much. I would choose higher for this one, but not so much for the resolve. It does have a higher percentage of actual hits, so that does kind of balance it out. And that's pretty much the math in general. I might decide to play it out or not. Hold on. Okay, so here we are taking a look at the Ooh, it's actually very dark now. I need to turn this on. There you go. So here we are taking a look at the 3 different versions here. As you can see, I don't have them ready and up yet. So I need the one thing that's really bad about these decks is that they are rare and mythic intensive. There's no way you're cheaping out on these. So let's start with the day 9 version. Let's see what are the rares I'm personally missing. I've crafted a few of them for other. Let's see. Well, obviously the Tibalt Trickery is going to be common for all of them. We can't see the difference here. The Essicas are going to be quite different as well. Having to craft all 4 Comas is going to be very painful. Having to craft another Ugin. And crafting 4 World Trees. So this is probably where it's cheapest. So this ironically is the cheapest because it's so heavily reliant on temples that I already have. Let's take a look at Andrea Mengucci's version. Now this one costs more rares because I'm missing pathways. So it's not that much different. But otherwise the cards I'm missing are still the same. Yeah, the 4 Comas are going to be very painful. When I go draft, I'm definitely gonna aim for this one. Shit, it's weird I already have Tibalt's Trickery. Then here's Crim's version. I have to craft 2 more Valkys, I have to craft 3 more Garrux. Okay, 1 less Kiora, but then I have to craft the Nyx Bloom Ancient I never crafted. I have to craft 4 Emergent Ultimatums. Ugh. Well, it's a good thing I settled on this one. This one's probably... It's not any cheaper. So it's so this is definitely not budget friendly. If ever I'm going to do an experiment to see how well this goes and not just rely on theory crafting, I'm probably gonna do this one the most because the two comments here are probably annuls. So that's from the sideboard. Oh yeah, I forgot this has a sideboard. If I cut the sideboard, yeah. So if I remove the sideboard, well, we're not playing traditional, but okay, it's cheaper by 1 and 1. But basically, the nice thing between these two is I can build the day 9 version, then I can build this one. I'm sorry, MTG Goldfish. I'm sorry, Krim. There is no way I'm building your version. It's not just the rares and mythics I need, but it's the kind of rares and mythics I need. I don't have a control deck that runs Emergent Ultimatum, so at most I have a control deck that runs Titan's Nest, so I'm probably not going to use the Emergent Ultimatum's probably going to be a waste. The whole deck is probably a waste if you ask me, but I'm willing to try one version. So let me know in the comments especially if you've tried any of these versions, which one do you feel is the best? Any victims of these ones, let me know which are the cards that you consider the ones that killed you or the ones that you're able to fight off against. Do let me know in the comments, and I'll see if I can schedule some time when I can actually play the deck. So I'm working on that. But there's the math for you, and yes, there are quite some odds here, but it really depends on how you look at 60%. Like, if you're a super pessimistic person like me, 60% after mulliganing 3 times is horrible. It's still horrible. Even for an I-win combo, it still feels horrible. But for people that are more optimistic, this might be a deck you might consider, especially if you have more of the rares already. So buyer beware, but it's too premature to say how that this one is completely a meme, especially when you consider best of 1, especially when you consider we're using the London mulligan. So those are things to consider. So at least that argument has some legs. Anyway, that's it for this quick impromptu episode of the Magic Arena Run. If you like what you saw, please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, turn on notifications and whatnot. And as always, may you have a great day, and may you not run into these decks. Or rather, if you do run into these decks, may they be in the 40%. Thank you very much for watching. I hope to see you guys again next time. Take care, God bless, stay safe wherever you are. Have a great weekend, everyone.